I'm here with Liam Mackey from the Irish Examiner and looking forward to the Italy match. I suppose when the fixtures were made, this was the one we've been looking forward to the most.
Absolutely. World champions coming to Dublin, and obviously we knew as well it was going to be in Croke Park, and I'm not sure that Croke Park has been entirely successful as a home for the football team. To some extent that had to do with the performances of the team and the results and so on, but this is a game now at the business end of qualification for the World Cup with so much at stake, that it should live up to all the billing that we've made for it and that we anticipated when the two teams were drawn together originally. And it's as big a game, certainly the biggest game in Dublin since Ireland played France. Unfortunately, a bolt from Le Bleu by Thierry Henry did for us that night.
So with Italy beating Bulgaria, that wasn't exactly ideal for us now.
No, it wasn't. On a number of levels, it's a huge confidence booster for the Italians, and it extends their lead to 4 points, which means, of course, that the Croke Park game, while still massively significant in terms of Irish qualification hopes, doesn't hold out the possibility of Ireland leapfrogging Italy going into the last game. So I think of the various permutations that could have come out of Turin, Italy winning was the last one Trapattoni wanted, and certainly the one that Ireland ideally didn't want to have happen. But to have them in Dublin, to have in addition to that the fact that one of the most famous Italian coaches of all time is in the Irish dugout, and the World Cup winning coach Lippi is in the opposite dugout. It's just set up to be one of those 5-star blockbuster nights in not just in Irish football but in Irish sport.
Well, you mentioned Lippi. He first of all, he was rebuilding, then he was not. Now he's defending himself, saying he's staying loyal to his world champions. It's unbelievable the amount of grief he's getting from the Italian press as a World Cup winning manager, and the current one at that.
Yeah, that's the way of things in Italy. If they're not playing scintillating football and they're not putting opponents to the sword and they're not running away with qualification, then it's a disaster and the manager is failing and the players aren't doing it. Look, I'm sure Lippi says the very same thing as Trapattoni says. Look at the table, and Italy traditionally have not been great in qualifiers, and Lippi said as much recently. And I think his quote was, "We were a team for the finals," which may be a bit presumptuous, but they are. And indeed, even when you think of World Cup finals in the past, not least 1994 when Ireland beat them, they're a team that sometimes starts slowly in the finals as well. It's just an odd quality of Italian football, but they get there at the end. They're really, really hard to beat. They've got some of the best players in the world, and it's going to be as big a challenge, I guess, as Trapattoni has faced, even allowing for the fact that Ireland went to Barry, and that on paper should have been the harder game. But the way things worked out that night, I think most of the pressure was on Italy as the home team, and having lost the man early, even though they got the early goal, I think Ireland played with a kind of a freedom and a boldness that night that had something to do with the circumstances of the game. You'd have to assume it's going to be a bit different in Croke Park. Ireland would be underdogs because it's, after all, the world champions, but at the same time, because Ireland are at home in front of a full house, there's going to be a weight of expectation and a weight of pressure that I think Ireland will find difficult to deal with. Hopefully it will inspire them, but clearly the pressure will be more on them than on Italy.
There's the possibility that Stephen Reid could come back. I mean, he's such a massive player for us.
Yeah, I always thought to some extent we've been debating the absence of the wrong Stephen all through this campaign, because while Stephen Ireland is, beyond a shadow of a doubt, currently the best Irish footballer on the planet, it was always such a long shot that he'd come back, and the whole thing was couched in such levels of confusion and mystery and intrigue and doubt that in a sense we were kind of having a prolonged debate about something that was never likely to happen. It was almost like an academic issue, whereas the Stephen Reid one is something which was only ever in doubt because of his serious injury problems. A fit Stephen Reid goes straight into that Irish team, and as we saw in the opening two games, and even by the second game in Montenegro, he was beginning to feel that injury. He was massive for Ireland in both those games, and I think would have a transformative effect on the Irish team. He has the experience, He's got the defensive capabilities that Trapattoni loves in his central midfielders, but he can also pick out a pass, and he drills his passes. He plays at a tempo which is really kind of strong and positive and uplifting, and something Ireland need. I think Ireland need to be playing at a slightly higher tempo, certainly than they did, for example, in Cyprus in that first half. But certainly, yes, if there was a chance that Stephen Reid could come back and play in that game, I would consider that as big a boost as Trapattoni could possibly get at this stage.